Hey y'all, welcome back to Homemade Simple. If we've not met before, I'm Lori. I love to share videos each week to help you on your homemaking and simple living journeys. I hope you're having a great day. Today we are on calf watch, so I was coming outside to check on the cows and feed all of the animals. But inside we have a pantry that we are cleaning out. Our fridge and freezer has been cleaned out this week as well. I wanted to share some of the recipes that I've made for my family this week while we were trying to pare down all of the pantry items that have been accumulating throughout the year. And I'm really excited about some of these recipes that I have to share with you. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I'm about to play my channel intro. While I do that, I hope if you've not subscribed to the channel, you will go and do that now, and I'll see you on the other side. Okay, for our first recipe for our pantry and refrigerator and freezer clean out, we're going to have a taco soup minus the corn. I didn't have any corn in the freezer or in the pantry, so we're just going to do with what we have. But I have some green chilies that I needed to use up, and also I had canned some tomatoes last summer, and I'm going to use 4 of those cans, some seasonings, and I'm going to use some ground beef that I had stored up in the freezer for quite a while. I needed to use it up as well. I'm going to cook up a good bit of this ground beef and then be able to use it in another recipe later in the week. So while that ground beef is cooking, I'm going to put in my tomatoes and my seasonings and also that can of diced green chilies. I'm going to put about a tablespoon of chili powder and a tablespoon of cumin and probably a teaspoon of paprika, and then 2 teaspoons, maybe a tablespoon of salt. If you can't have salt, you can just leave that out. Like I said last week, I have frozen a lot of beans, and I need to work through those beans. I need to get them cleared out so that I could put some fresh in the freezer. And so I'm going to open up one of those bags of beans that I have cooked in the Instant Pot. I'm going to go ahead and sort of simmer this soup on the stovetop, place those beans into the soup and allow them to thaw. You can also cook this soup very easily in the crock pot or in the Instant Pot. And one good thing about using the Instant Pot is you can cook your ground beef, and then if you need to drain it, go ahead and do that, and then just put all of the ingredients into the Instant Pot, turn on the pressure valve, cook it for maybe 20 to 30 minutes, and it will be done, and it's easy to clean up. We are going to have this after church, so I'm going to throw this into my oven. I have a slow cooker setting on my oven, but you can cook this any way that you think is best. I had a little bit of cheese, so I am going to slice it up and put it on top of the soup, and then add some sour cream, and there we go, all done with this yummy chili taco soup. It was a simple, easy meal for a busy Sunday morning. We celebrated Memorial Day this week. Nothing says Memorial Day quite like a good grilled lunch and dinner. So that's what I'm planning on doing for our Memorial Day lunch today, and also dinner as well. So I'm going to go ahead and thaw out these chicken thighs. I'm going to make my own marinade, and I'm just going to put together 1 cup of olive oil and about a cup of apple cider vinegar. Add 2 tablespoons of Italian seasoning and a teaspoon or 2 of salt. Stir that together, and that can be my marinade. I'm going to pour this marinade on top and allow it to sit for all day. That way it will be good and flavored when it's time to take it out for tonight's dinner. Now that I have the chicken all in the refrigerator and marinating, it's time for me to get to the lunch. So I have taken out some hamburger meat. I'm going to make some hamburger patties, break out the grill for the first time this year, and cook some delicious hamburgers. We do have some company coming over, so I did buy a little bit more ground beef that was on sale and made some patties out of that as well. For my hamburger patties, I keep it really simple. Just some salt and pepper, roll them into a ball, smush them flat, probably about 1/2 inch thick or so. I try to put a divot into the middle of the hamburger patty to keep it from sort of growing really high in the middle. That will help the patty to cook evenly. So once I get these all done, it's going to be time to throw them on the grill. Since we have celebrated Memorial Day this week, I especially want to extend my greatest griefs and condolences if you have lost a family member in the service of our country. I know that the freedoms that my family and I enjoy on a regular basis do not come free, and they do not come cheap. And I am so grateful for the Lord blessing our country with the freedoms that we have, and for those who are willing to serve all of our families in the service of our country. Again, if you are grieving this week because of a loss of your loved one, my heart is with you and my prayers are with you as well. A hamburger is not a hamburger without some yummy mayonnaise, lettuce, and tomato. I cut up some dill pickles. Kelsey was able to make some French fries. Kendall made some coleslaw, and this was a perfect Memorial Day lunch. For dinner, I got out the chicken, and it had been marinating for probably 6 to 8 hours. It's really nice and tenderized. I'm going to put them on the grill and cook them, as well as some corn. We did buy some fresh corn at the store whenever we got the hamburger meat, but I did cook them on the grill. I wrapped them up with some butter, salt, and pepper in some aluminum foil, and I cooked them on the grill for about 30 minutes. I put them on about 20 minutes before I put the chicken on. Then I started cooking the chicken, probably cooked the chicken for about 15 minutes. This chicken was really flavorful, and it was very tender. So if you are looking for an easy and simple marinade, this is a really good and easy go-to. Today I have got a lot of items that I'm going to be able to get out of the refrigerator and freezer and pantry. So I have actually grown this little green pepper, and this red pepper has been in my refrigerator for way too long. The tomatoes have been in there for several weeks. This is going to sort of be like a Spanish rice Mexican dish. Rice is simple to make, just 1 cup rice, 2 cups of water. If you double the rice, double the water. Really simple and easy. I put a little bit of salt, and I am cooking it in the microwave today. You can also cook it in the Instant Pot or on the stovetop. I'm going to cut up my peppers. I have some oil heating in an iron skillet. I'm going to saute these peppers, and while I'm sauteing the peppers, I'm going to add some chili powder and some cumin and some salt for seasoning. Stirring that around will allow all of the flavors to meld into these vegetables as they saute. I'm going to add my diced tomatoes into the skillet, and also I have 1 last can of these diced green chilies. I thought, why not go ahead and add that into this recipe. I'm going to put them in and allow all of these vegetables to cook together and simmer on the stove, probably for about 5 to 8 minutes before I add the other ingredients. I have the ground beef left over from Sunday's meal, so I'm going to put all that I have left into the skillet and allow it to heat through. It's already well done, so no need to cook it for a long period of time. And then after it's all cooked together, I'm going to add about half a cup of water so that it will keep it from being quite so dry when I put it on the rice. I added cheese to mine. I heated up some black beans for a side dish. If I had some sour cream, that would have been the icing on top, but without the sour cream, this Mexican dish was really delicious. All of those peppers worked really well together with the tomatoes and the ground beef, and the rice made it just a really good, satisfying dish. Having the beans on the side, that also was a good bonus. I have plenty of those beans to go around, so it was good to find another use for them. I still have a ton of eggs and they just keep on coming. I'm probably getting over a dozen a day, so I really need to find things to use these eggs on, and today's recipe is a really good option. If you have an abundance of eggs, you are going to want to make this recipe, no doubt about it. I'm also going to be able to use up my very last package of this maple flavored bacon from Aldi. I accidentally made this bacon 2 Wednesdays in a row. So I went to church and everybody was saying how they were smelling syrup and pancakes, and it really embarrassed me, but it's just a testament to how really delicious and flavorful this bacon is. So if you have not tried this maple flavored bacon from Aldi, you need to go and you need to get some. I'm going to link the Pinterest recipe that sort of was the inspiration for this meal. I didn't follow that recipe, but I did feel like the genius idea that this was needed to be applauded and appreciated. So I've never really heard of this idea before, and I wanted to make sure I gave the author plenty of kudos for this really delicious idea. So check in the description box below. The idea of this is just to make your biscuits or use the store-bought ones, scramble you some eggs, pour them over the biscuits, and then add some cheese and bacon, put it in a casserole dish, and bake it in the oven for about 30 minutes. And y'all, this is delicious. Whoever thought about a bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit casserole? I don't know, but that woman is a genius, and I really appreciated the idea. I thought it sounded so yummy, and it did not disappoint. I'm going to make my biscuits from scratch, so I have 2 cups of flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 2 teaspoons of salt, 1/3 cup of bacon grease. You can use butter, you can use coconut oil. I forgot to sort of blend in my bacon grease, but if you have a pastry blender, you can just simply and easily blend in your bacon grease before you add your milk. That's the better way to do it, but I forgot that step and it turned out just fine. I'm going to add 3/4 cup of milk. If I need a little bit more, I can add a little more. I'm going to just incorporate it all and sort of make just a layer of biscuit dough. Probably ended up being about a 1/2 inch thick. It doesn't really matter. You just don't want it to be like humongous chunks. But then after I got it evened out, I sliced it into cubes, and then I'm going to set that aside. If you just want to spare yourself this step, you can just use the canned biscuits that you find at the grocery store. Like I said, I have a ton of eggs, so there was no reason at all for me to scrimp on the number of eggs. I used 15 eggs in this recipe. You use however many you need, and it will work out just fine. You'll just need to adjust the size of the pan that you cook it in. I used a 13x9 for the amount of biscuit dough that I had and the amount of eggs that I used. Lane's always such a good helper, and he's willing to help me today scramble the eggs.
Can you say eggs?
So this is one of his favorite chores, is scrambling eggs. He's sort of already figured out how to do it. He knows how to do it, and he does a pretty good job for a 2-year-old. So I always appreciate his help in the kitchen. It's sweet to see how willing a toddler is to help, and I hope to, as he gets older, continue to encourage that kind of helpful nature. It just brings my mama heart joy to see him be so willing to help, and I love having him around in the kitchen. I've got all of those eggs and about half a cup of milk whisked together. I have browned the entire thing of bacon. I'm going to add half of the bacon, all of the biscuits, and then I'm going to add 1 cup of cheese. I'm going to mix this all together, make sure it's good and incorporated, and then pour it into a greased 13x9 baking dish. Again, if you don't use quite as many eggs and you don't use as many biscuits, you'll just want to decrease the size of your baking dish. I have my oven preheated to 350 degrees, and I'm going to pour all of this into the 13x9 baking dish and make sure that it's all spread out evenly. I think will really help in the end result. I'm going to bake this for about 25 minutes, and then I'm going to take it out. And when I take it out, I'm going to sprinkle the rest of the bacon on top, and then another cup, maybe a cup and a half of shredded cheese on top of that, and then put it back in the oven for the final 10 minutes. I want to make sure that the eggs and the biscuits are nice and done, but I don't want to overcook it, obviously. So I think the total cooking time of 35 minutes is just perfect. And when I tell y'all that this is a delicious idea, I am not kidding. It was so good. So simple to throw together, so easy to make, and it was delicious. It even received Lane's stamp of approval, which these days is pretty hard to receive. Well, I hope you enjoyed these recipe ideas today. I have thoroughly enjoyed cooking this week from my pantry and my freezer. It really helps to know that we have such a bounty from the Lord, and to be able to use them without having to go to the store and spend a lot on groceries for a week or two is really a blessing to the budget. So I hope I've inspired you with some new ideas on how to use those pantry items for this week's meal plan. If you want to be a monthly supporter of Homemade Simple and the things we're doing here, I will leave a link down in the description box to my Patreon account. You can visit that link and see all of the benefits that are available to Homemade Simple neighbors from Patreon. I hope that you will check that out. In next week's video, I plan to do a pantry and refrigerator restock, so I hope you will come along and see some of the things that I like to make sure I have on hand, so we have all that we need for all of the homemade goodies that we like to have on a regular basis. Thank you so much for being here today. I hope you have a wonderful week. I love you, and I will see you again next time.